This quote is an admission of failure from Kakashi, and it is something that, on the surface, isn't something you want to hear from a mentor or teacher. It means that this mentor probably has some ruin lives in their wake, and you are left to wonder if you are going to be the next one. However, mistakes usually lead to learning, and this quote also means that the mentor has learned a lot in their lives. Kakashi is a flawed man that has nonetheless tried his best to do what is right by everyone around him. He's dealt with a lot of pain and heartbreak, but he perseveres and tries to do better going forward. This is another quote that can make you feel a little unnerved at first. Beyond the obvious interpretation that either Kakashi or Orochimaru will die in this encounter, it also implies that Sasuke could die too. A viewer or reader is left to wonder if that means that Kakashi is willing to kill Sasuke to keep Orochimaru from getting a hold of him. However, you know that Kakashi isn't really willing to do that, and it could also mean that Sasuke may fight Orochimaru too and die in the chaos. Kakashi has lost a lot of friends and allies in his days, and you know that he's willing to do anything to protect the ones that he has now. This is a particularly harsh quote from Kakashi. Not everyone is blessed with the power, skill, and/or agility to become a shinobi, but that's not quite what he's implying here. It's a somewhat egalitarian proclamation that those who aren't willing to work on a skill will tend to complain about others who do. It's perhaps not the deepest of Kakashi quotes, but it does continue to build the image of a man who is confident in his role in life, his own abilities, and the path that he has set before himself. This is one of the first things that Kakashi says when the audience gets to meet him, and it already says a lot about the character. He's aloof, sarcastic, and clever. It also implies that he is open to what life throws at him. This is one of his most iconic quotes, and it's a charming one. You're left to wonder if he's actually qualified to be in charge of three headstrong students like Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto, but you also get the impression that he is the exact kind of person these three need as a mentor.
This is another one of Kakashi's iconic quotes, and it's pretty cool and intimidating at the outset. However, if you go a level deeper you get the impression that he's a strict authoritarian who is more a follower of rules than justice itself. However, there is another interpretation, and it's one that more fits the character of Kakashi Hatake. It's the interpretation that he understands that the rules shape how individuals view the world, but loyalty and protecting what is truly right. Both a burn-on-mic guy and the questioning of his leadership qualities, this quote is a frustrating look at Kakashi before he got better about being around the next generation. There is another quote where Kakashi apologizes and notes that he'd make the same choices, but that doesn't take away from the darkness that comes with this line. Kakashi having personal feelings is what makes him a good shinobi and leader, so seeing him say this makes that questionable. If anyone can create a better introduction that gives no information, please share it because Kakashi's cannot be beaten thus far. This lackadaisical attitude and hiding of information make a solid ninja, but as a mentor or coworker, it can be hard to work with being given nothing. Fans learn what some of his hobbies are, which include reading Make Out Paradise, so the fact that he notes that to his young students brings a little bit of worry. If you are giving instructions or teaching something to someone, it helps if you make sense while giving those insights. This line is a perfect example of different wavelengths clashing. Kakashi believing that his underlings don't understand what is being said is indicative of not only their learning but of his ability to teach as well. Reprimanding them also doesn't help them learn. In an effort to sound sagely, he comes off condescending, but in a humorous way. The irony of starting a line so sweetly with one of your subordinates only to end it by noting they will die is one of the reasons Kakashi is one of the most comedic ninjas in all of Naruto. The word choice is both encouraging in the moment and condescending outside, and the ending seriously makes the statement much more poignant. This was one of the first missions, so Kakashi was trying to find the line between harsh and encouraging, to mixed success. The number one part of being a person of authority is to have the most rational judgment. Kakashi noting that the three new shinobi, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura, could drive him insane is directly antagonistic to his position of authority. That being said, he knows what is coming to him as he has seen what their learning has been like with Iruka and actually helped to keep him sane during the early years. His miracle is eventually proven true, but it is about the journey after all. Perhaps the easiest way to put down your students on first meeting them is to straight out call them idiots. The irony is that the worst way to do it is to flat out say I hate you all, which is how one version of this line has been translated. The youth already have a hard time trusting older generations, but being called idiots on the first meeting is one way to ensure that they don't listen to your authority. Though this was one of the first times fans grew to love Kakashi, so whatever works. You should not trust anyone, let alone someone in a position of power, who says the words, "I'm about to go on a rampage." Since Kakashi is who he is, we can all agree to let this one slide since it means an amazing fight scene is coming up. If your boss says this, assure them that they are no Kakashi and leave the building because it takes some serious stress to get to that point. Breaking down the highest position of power in the Konoha into just this quote makes anybody question the authority of said power. Luckily for the hidden leaf, this isn't being said at a press conference, rather in private to a trusted friend. At least it is nice to see that Kakashi hasn't changed in over 20 years because he is still willing to call kids idiots with no regrets. Instead of listening to the complaints of his subordinates, Kakashi would rather have them suffer instead. While it does eventually make them great shinobi, this line is not delivered to them, rather Iruka, who is terrified by the actions of his compatriot. Anyone who is proud that former students are now soldiers should have you questioning their ability to lead, though shinobi are warriors, so a little leeway is necessary. Tardiness is already a huge problem if you are dealing with someone in a place of authority. Being held to a similar standard, especially in a working environment, which being a shinobi is important for the success of a group. However, we are willing to forgive anyone who can make the best excuses like these. Especially when we learn that he is visiting the grave sites of his friends and making us all cry in the process.